Thanks for downloading another segment from the Best of the Classic Metal Show. The Classic Metal Show is heard live on Saturdays from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. Eastern, exclusively at www.theclassicmetalshow.com. And now here's another piece of Classic Metal Show history on the Best of the Classic Metal Show.
The Classic Metal Show.
Chris, Edguy has a new CD out, which is called TINNITUS SANCTUS, and that almost sounds like something you would hear on the Roadrunner cartoon. Tinnitus Sanctus, and the name of the tune there is called Sex, Fire, Religion, and it's a very straight-ahead rocker, and one of the guys responsible for playing guitar on that magnificent piece, we want to welcome to the Classic Metal Show. I believe this guy is on for the first time. Yes?
Yes.
Jens, welcome to the Classic Metal Show.
Thank you very much. How are you doing?
We're good. Now, where are you, Jens? Are you calling from Germany?
Yes, I'm at home right now. We just returned like 1.5 weeks ago. We returned from our World Tour Part 1. And, well, it was actually, the whole tour was pretty successful, but to be honest, it took me like more than a week to get used to the usual European daytime, since we traveled around the whole world, and there was a lot of jet lag going on. But now everything's fine again.
Sure. Well, Jens, one of the things that I'm going to jump right into it, I caught you guys, as I was saying off air, I caught you guys here in the Chicago area in Mokina at the Pearl Room. And one of the things about you being a European-based band, you're one of the very few bands who will take the chance of coming over here to the fickle United States and actually play a show over here, as to where a lot of German European bands don't do that. They don't often get that opportunity. What makes Edguy a little bit different than everybody else, to where you can come over here, and when you do come over here, is it successful for you?
Well, it depends on what you mean by successful. It's definitely not successful if we want to make any money. Not yet, but that's basically the reason why we're coming over to the States over and over again. You know, it's a really, really tough market, especially for European bands. And to get your music introduced to people and to get more fans, you have to play live as much as possible. And that's what we're actually trying to do, because we know that we're a pretty entertaining live band, so we feel very comfortable when we're on stage. And it's the best chance for us to convince more and more people to hopefully buy our records the next time. And, well, we're still kind of a young band, so we're still hungry. So we're trying to work on different markets where we are not that successful already. So for the United States, all I can say is that you have to come over and play as much as possible, and that's what we're trying to do.
Sure. Well, Jens, listening to the new album, TINNITUS SANCTUS, the one thing that really stands out on it is that you guys have sort of moved into more of a straight-ahead rock sound than the heavier metal stuff that you did, previously, and you've really gotten back to just kind of a more raw sound. Did you guys purposely, change the direction, or is this just where you guys are at now versus, where you were at with Rocket Ride or Hellfire Club or records like that?
Well, let's say there was never, a kind of master plan in which direction we want to go with the band. It all just happens naturally, and the fact that we are moving a bit away from, the typical melodic power metal, was just that we didn't see that we could make anything new in this specific kind of genre. Only playing fast double bass songs gets boring with the time, and we have always been a band that tried to include new elements to the music. And, actually what you can hear on TINNITUS SANCTUS album is where Edguy is standing in the year 2008, 2009. And, to be honest, I couldn't tell you where the journey will go with the next album. So I'm curious myself what's going to happen when we start songwriting for the next album.
Excellent. Well, Jens, with the new record, another thing that really stands out is it's been a time for Edguy where you guys have you're almost competing with yourself in one respect because of, Tobias Samets obviously having some real success with Avantasia as well as with Edguy. Is it now a situation where you guys have to wedge Edguy into Tobias's schedule, or is Edguy still Toby's first priority, or where does Edguy stand versus Avantasia, I guess is the question.
I think Edguy is still first priority. It was never the way that we had to interrupt the Edguy schedule for anything concerning Avantasia, except the last year's 1 month world tour they did. But besides that, Avantasia was always something Toby was doing besides Edguy. So I don't see that there's any priority problem because, actually when Toby came back from his world tour with Avantasia, he spoke to me and he said, this Avantasia world tour was a pretty good experience, but now I'm really looking forward to be on stage with you guys again because it's just like a grown band. We know each other for such a long time, and everybody knows what to do on stage, and everybody feels very comfortable there. And the first priority is still Edguy, and I hope that this won't change in the future, but I don't think so.
Well, Jens, Chris and I have been in the music business for about 13, 14 years apiece. And I want to go back to something we were talking about earlier about being able to come over to the States and tour. And you said that touring the States is not a successful financial venture for you. How do you get funded to where you can do a tour in the States and not go home and have to file bankruptcy or something?
Actually, we're doing pretty good in Europe. So, Edguy has always, we have never been afraid of investing money on certain markets, and if we do something, we want to do it right. That's concerning albums, for example. I mean, nowadays for a lot of bands, it's very, very difficult to spend a lot of money on a good production. And, we're in the very lucky position that in Germany, for example, we're doing pretty well and we're getting pretty good money for festivals that we're doing. So we're not afraid to invest that money for the future. And, it's not, if we're going to the States, of course, we don't get bankrupt after it. But still, we don't earn money. And, I think with the last tour we did, with the last headlining tour, we almost came out on zero. And I'm pretty convinced that for the forthcoming tour in September, it will be the first time that we don't lose money on an American tour. So I'm really looking forward to that. And if you once reach the point where you don't lose money, it just can go upstairs. You know what I mean?
Sure, I understand that. That's something Chris and I are always wondering about, because there are plenty of European bands that we really like and we play here on the Classic Metal Show that we don't ever think we'll ever see live, only because it's just cost prohibitive for them to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, I personally know a lot of bands that say, for example, I'm talking about bands that cannot live from their music. I mean, bands that have their regular jobs next to the music. And for those people, it's pretty understandable that they say, okay, if we're going to the United States to make a tour there or a single show, we at least don't want to lose money. And it's very difficult, because for European bands, touring the United States is much more expensive than touring in Europe, for example, because you need to get the working permissions for the USA, which cost a lot of money, and not talking about the flights, which are not very cheap from Europe to the United States. So I can understand why many bands say, okay, if we're playing a show there, we at least don't want to lose money. But as I said, in our case, we're all living from the music, and we're all trying to invest, money that we can hopefully gain some more in the future. And, it worked pretty fine for us so far. So nobody's bankrupt. Everybody's got a full fridge. So, it's not that bad.
Sure. Well, from a publicity angle, do you have anybody working your publicity for you to maybe get you some airplay? Satellite radio over here has kind of taken over the traditional FM radio, where you get to hear things you never, hear anywhere else. But I'm not hearing, unfortunately, I'm not hearing any bands like Edguy even being played on satellite radio. And the only place that I would hear Edguy is right here on the Classic Metal Show, or maybe some other metal type shows. But other than that, do you have anybody trying to get you some airplay on some other formats aside from internet radio?
Well, actually, I hope that our record company is taking care of this. Well, so far I have to say that we are pretty satisfied with the work Nuclear Blast is doing. Well, I don't know. For us, it's pretty difficult to have an eye on the whole United States market concerning radio shows. So we just have to trust our record company, but I'm really sure that they are doing their best trying to get us into different radio shows and setting up interviews and all that stuff. But that's a thing we can't influence too much because we just don't know the market situation. It's different in Germany where we know all the magazines, all the radio stations. It's much easier there to talk to the record company and say, hey, come on, we want to be a part of this or this specific radio show. But for the United States, we just know not enough to give a lot of input to the promotion company the record company is doing.
Sure. Well, Jens, from listening to your back catalog and specifically stuff like the Burning Down the Opera, the live recordings, it's clear that you guys know how to work a big stage. Yeah, when you were here the last couple of times you've been here in the U.S., you're playing clubs that are obviously a much smaller stage than that environment. Is it difficult to adjust your show to a tinier stage versus, the huge stages that you might play in Europe or at festivals and whatnot?
No, not really. Actually, that's where we started. We were another band that started to play on big stages, so the sizes we are playing in America right now is the same sizes that we played in Europe when we started our career. So we're still used to this kind of stages, and I think Edguy is a band that can do a very good job on small stages as well, because we're always dividing the shows into, let's say, two parts. On one hand, there are the big stages that we play in Europe or on huge festivals where you have a huge stage set up and a lot of lights, a lot of technical stuff, a lot of effects and everything. And on the other hand, there are what we like to call them the rock and roll shows, where you just go on stage, plug your guitar, your amplifier, and then go. And I think we can do pretty well on both sizes because, we are used to both. And I have to be honest, sometimes it's much more fun to play a small stage because the atmosphere is much more intimate, You get to see all the reactions of the people in the first row. You can see their faces. You can have eye contact. And that has something special. Of course, we like to play big shows as well, but we see every show should be a kind of challenge, and it doesn't matter if there are 5,000 people in front of you or just 500. The main goal for us as a band is to entertain the people and to give the best we can, and then it doesn't matter about the stage size.
I hear you. Well, in addition to the new album, which is called Tinnitus Sanctus, you guys also just now released a greatest hits of sorts, just called The Singles. What made you guys decide that this was the right time to do that? Is that part of maybe trying to reintroduce people that missed a lot of these songs when Edguy was coming up to this music?
Well, to be very honest, this was a record company idea, and we just said, if you think it's good to have a kind of let's say all the on the singles compilation there are all the songs that were previously released on EPs or singles on one CD. So it's a kind of compilation for people who didn't want to buy an EP or a single, but now still want to have the songs. So actually, it wasn't our idea, but we really hadn't anything against the record company doing it.
Well, Jens, I got to tell you, I've been a fan of Edguy since probably 1998 or so, and I've got all your CDs, and I've enjoyed the kind of power metal or straight ahead rock that you guys bring. Although you guys kind of went a little bit different on your last CD, Rocket Ride, something that just didn't resonate with me, but I'm glad to see with this new disc that you're promoting, Tinnitus Sanctus, you're kind of back to the straight-ahead rock formula.
Oh, that sounds good. Actually, I can understand. You're not the only one that has some problems with the Rocket Ride album. I still like the album, but nowadays I can't understand why many people thought that the album was a bit strange, because I think it's just into too many directions on the album. There's a reggae song like Trinidad next to a real epic song like Sacrifice, and I can understand that people were confused. But I agree with you. I think with the new album, Tinnitus Sanctus, the whole album sounds more like a unit. There's not different songs that go in too many different directions. The album sounds more compact and more as a unit. And, I totally agree with you on that.
Well, thanks. I'm glad we see eye to eye on that, because right now I'm throwing that CD in the trash.
Okay. No, don't do it. There's still songs on it.
I got your blessing. You didn't like it either, so it's going in the trash, my friend. No, I'm just kidding you. Well, Jens.
Well, I said I like it.
All right, Jens. Well, we appreciate you being part of the Classic Metal Show tonight. We're slowly working our way through the Edguy lineup. We've had Dick on the show, and we've had you on the show, and we've had Toby on the show, so we only got to get to 2 more guys in Edguy, and we'll have had the whole band at one point.
Well, you will get your chance in the future, I'm sure.
Excellent. All right, Jens, once again, we appreciate you calling into the show tonight. Go pick up the new Edguy release called Tinnitus Sanctus, and also Edguy has a new greatest hits release out just called The Singles. Is that right, Chris?
That is correct.
All right.
It is.
Okay, Jens. We before we let you go, we want to ask you the traditional Classic Metal Show question. How has Lemmy from Motorhead influenced your career?
Well, he influenced my career, especially backstage, He's one of the good examples for people to know where their limits are, especially when it comes to drinking alcohol.
Isn't it amazing that guy can drink as much alcohol as he had and still walking around?
Sometimes I wonder about this myself. You're right.
We've probably asked over 300 different artists about Lemmy, and just about probably 299 of them have cited drinking as his influence.
Okay.
All right, Jens, why don't you tell people where they can find you out there on the web?
Yes, the best place to visit us is on our official website. That's www.edguy.net. Or you can also hang out with us on the MySpace site. That's MySpace/Edguy. Besides that, the best thing to meet us would be on the upcoming United States tour in September, I think.
Excellent. Well, if you come through the Chicago area, I'll make an effort to come out and hang with you guys again.
Perfect. Sounds good.
All right, Jens. Well, we always let the artist pick a closing song off the new CD and maybe tell us a story about it. So what would you like us to play?
I'd like you to play The Pride of Creation, because actually it's one of my favorite tracks on the album, and I think the lyrics are one of the best Toby has ever written so far. So you should check it out. It's very hilarious.
Okay, well, here it is. This is Edguy from the Tinnitus Sanctus release, and this is The Pride of Creation exclusively here
on your Classic Metal Show.
Thanks for checking out the best of the Classic Metal Show. You can tune into the Classic Metal Show live every Saturday night from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. Eastern, exclusively at www.theclassicmetalshow.com.
The Classic Metal Show.